Hey, what's up? This is Britt with Vinedresser Lawn and Landscape, and today we're going to do something a little different. I got my buddy Luckadoo here from 𝐘𝐨𝐿𝐻, and we're going to ask him some questions about his background in turf care, some personal insights, seasonal turf issues that he's seeing in lawns right now, weeds and pests that he might be seeing in lawns, and then we're going to ask him a little bit about water and irrigation, and then how you can get in touch with him. So Luke, let's get started.
All right.
First question. So how did you get started in the lawn care industry? Take it back to the beginning.
That's a weighted question. That's when I first got my very first taste of lawn care. I was 13 years old. I was already doing my grandparents' lawn and stuff, but in their little neighborhood, there was 30 homes, and people started asking me to do their lawns. So after a few weeks, I was doing 15 to 30 people's lawns, and I was like, man, this is money, I can do this. I had the drive there. Obviously, I didn't continue to do it until I started getting out of high school, but once I got out of high school, I was trying to figure out what I could do. I started doing it again during college, helped me get through college. I had my own business and stuff. Did it up until we decided to move down here, and then I closed my business down there, came down here and started working for other landscape companies.
All right. Everybody else, you started at a young age.
That's right.
So how did you get started with Triangle Chemical? Let me take you back before. You've worked for landscape companies. When you came down here to work for landscape companies, were you cutting grass or were you treating lawns?
When I moved down here, I was already looking at treating lawns because I had already treated lawns for years back in Charlotte. And while it's usually different grasses, mostly fescue, I still worked with a lot of warm seasons. The grass wasn't that big of a jump. The amount of pests we get down here was a huge jump. Because when I first moved down here, I was like, how many insecticides are we putting out a year? Because in Charlotte, you're putting down 2.
For grub control.
Right.
That's in one of the questions I sent you. What do you think is easier, warm season turf or cool season turf?
Depending on where you're at, cool season turf.
So how did you get started with Triangle Chemical?
So I was working at another landscaping company in town when they decided to let me go and move in a different direction. And since Triangle was my main supplier at the time, I called up my contact salesman over there and was like, hey, I know y'all are always hearing people that are hiring, letting you know I'm in the pool, throw my name around if you hear anything. It worked out at about 3 hours later. They called me back and said, we have a driver inside sales position open if you want to take it. And I was like, let's do it.
3 hours later.
3 hours later.
Yeah,
same
like Wilmington job.
I got fired or got let go, got a new job before I had to call my wife and tell her that I lost my job.
That's good. That's good. And so, I don't know if I asked you, how long have you been with Triangle Chemical?
I have been with them since March of 2018.
Okay. So you've been dealing with chemicals a long time.
I have.
So how long do you think you've been in the turf side, the turf care of lawn care industry?
The turf side of lawn care industry since probably 2011, 2012.
All right. So moving to a different topic, what's your favorite turf grass? I'm going to say favorite turf grass to treat. What's your favorite turf grass?
My favorite turf grass has, and I think always will be, fescue. Yeah. Now, granted, obviously that's not as popular as it is down here. While I have actually planted fescue in a few yards down here that are mostly shaded and wouldn't grow warm season grasses, I know it's not as popular, but fescue is my favorite grass. It's the easiest to work with. If you kill it, you can put a few pieces of seed down. It'll come back in 2 weeks. It's just really easy to work with.
Man, totally different than warm
Totally
season
different
grass.
than warm season.
You just said you can throw down some seed and in 14 days you have a lawn.
Correct.
But you've successfully seen fescue in heavily shaded areas in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a place down in St. James that there was 4 or 5 yards along the golf course that was completely covered by pine trees. And they had zoysia in the front. Zoysia looked great in the front, but as it trailed into the backyard, they were only getting 40% or less of sun. And no warm season grass is going to want to do that, especially around trees. So I loaded them up heavy on the fescue, and as long as they watered and did their fungicides and stuff, it worked out fine.
That's cool. Let's go. What's your favorite warm season grass? Because most of my viewers are going to be dealing with warm season grass, and especially around here. What do you think's what's your favorite and I would say easiest to treat?
Favorite and easiest to treat is probably Bermuda. Bermuda's, I mean, it's so
I was
hardy.
trying to lead you into saying that.
Yeah, Bermuda is so easy to deal with. You can keep it healthy. It's hard to kill. For a homeowner that's trying to treat his lawn and doesn't know what he's doing, Bermuda is the easiest trial grass to start off with.
What's your least favorite warm season grass?
Zoysia.
Really?
Oh my God.
Man.
So many problems with zoysia, and nobody knows how to effectively work with it. It's the last to green up. It's the first to go dormant. It is the most prone to fungus. And while it does choke weeds out in a healthy lawn, if it is not healthy, it is covered in weeds.
And I've seen in new builds where it just won't, it just looks yellow and thin, and it takes forever to.
Yep.
I don't know if that's lack of nutrition or if it looks like
it is a little bit of the soil composition down here, but largely it's the type of grass. It's
slow to grow.
It's slow to grow, and then I know that people do it because it looks the most like fescue. There's so many problems with it.
I didn't think you were going to say zoysia. Zoysia's growing on me. The wide blade zoysia.
Wide blade zoysia does look better.
Like Crown and Empire. They're growing on me. I think they're getting easier to treat than. I definitely believe the thin blade zoysia is really hard to.
Thin blade zoysia is very hard. And
with.
It is my least favorite of the zoysias. I will rag on zoysia a good bit, but fine bladed zoysia, that's not where it's at.
But some people, they want it.
They do want it.
They want it. When they want it, they want it. Let me ask you, what for a homeowner? What's the three most important things that they should be doing in their lawn to have a good lawn?
For homeowners, I would suggest keeping a couple of bags of fungicide on hand and keeping it in a bucket, you were saying, and being able to notice when you have gray leaf spot or large patch pop up so that you can go out there and treat it yourself. Another thing would be to keep Celsius on hand. It's super safe. You can use it as a post-emergent to kill the weeds you see. And then lastly, you got to get really well-made fertilizers. The fertilizers at the big box stores are hurting your lawn in more ways than you can realize with the makeup of what's in that fertilizer.
They all say for southern lawns, and then it'll have way too much nitrogen for centipede. This isn't on the list either, but tell me about the 15015. We use it for the centipede in St. Augustine, but you said that's probably your favorite fertilizer y'all have.
Across the board, 15015 can be put on any grass down here, and you can adjust the rates at which you're doing it. If you want to go at a pound of N on certain grasses, but you want to up it to 1.5 pounds of N, you can do that. 15015 is clean because it's sulfate of potash. We built it with 50% slow release, so you're going to get a good 6 weeks of treatment control out of it. And it's really easy to work with because you can go from centipede all the way up to Bermuda. You don't have to change the amount of N that you're putting down, but you can. But it's going to look great across the board.
And so you mentioned SOP versus MOP, and so what does that affect? How does that have an effect?
There are some other micronutrients and stuff at play here, but certain grasses down here do not like chlorine buildup. And in muriate of potash, you have quite a bit of chlorine. St. Augustine is going to show that effect if you keep putting muriate of potash on the grass.
And centipede too,
Centipede,
right?
same way.
All right, so it's kind of like the same question, but what three things you think move the needle the most in lawn care? Basic things, I would say.
Basic things for homeowners. It's gonna sound like I'm regurgitating the same things, but it really is. Good fertilizer, paying attention to your grasses and making sure you know when to notice fungus and when to use fungicide, and then spot treating with Celsius. If you do those three things in a timely manner, your yard's going to look great. You can't fertilize once a year and expect it to be good. You need to be doing it at least 3 times a year. 15015 would be my recommendation. There are obviously other
July.
May, June, July on pretty much all grass types. If you wanted to go a little earlier on your Bermudas and centipedes, usually you can get into the April time frame as long as the weather's right.
Gotcha. What are some of the most common issues that you're seeing in lawns right now?
Most common issues, probably fungus, because gray leaf spot and large patch are rampant with all the rain we've had and the insane temperature changes throughout the day. as well as there's obviously continuous weed problems. Sedges seem to be a real issue this year as opposed to years past.
NC State, they put out a video a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and said all the rain that, I think it was in May, we got a lot of rain, and they said just be ready for a lot of nuts, a lot of sedge because of that rain.
Sedges this year have been a little bit resistant to some of the herbicides we have attacked it with in the past. Professionals have started using a little bit more dicey herbicides when trying to control it because they're just trying to get effective control over it. So we're seeing a little bit more of dipping into sulfentrazone and stuff when certainty's not working as effectively as it has in the past. Correct.
So, like, what's the best way to attack the sedges? Like, I've heard some guys saying putting out sulfentrazone early in the spring, like April.
Sulfentrazone early does do a very good job at controlling. Right now, a big thing has been the new product, 𝐓𝐢𝐻𝐿. I guess your broad spectrum, your broadleaf herbicide, your broadleaf and your sedges. But if you're just going straight after sedges, the other active ingredient in 𝐓𝐢𝐻𝐿 was their original Archon. Archon does a very good job. I've seen it clean up a lot of hard to control sedges. I think it's because they go a little different way than other sedge products are doing right now. The resistance is to the older herbicides as opposed to the new herbicides.
Just to clarify, basically when you're using the same herbicide over and over and over, the weed, and it can happen with pests too, with insects, but the weed or the insect, when you're talking about insecticides, they just become resistant to it and it doesn't work as well and maybe not even work at all anymore.
There's definite resistance over the years to certain herbicides.
Besides sedges, and I would categorize 𝐘𝐨𝐿𝐻 is a sedge, right?
𝐘𝐨𝐮
so
is a
all
sedge.
that, what other issues are you seeing?
Outside of the weed pop-up and the fungus, people are somehow still overwatering. The sprinkler systems are still running every day, especially since we're getting so much rain, and people are starting to see root rot and some other issues when you overwater.
I'm gonna put a pin in that because watering is a hot button subject for everybody, hot topic subject for everybody.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask a couple questions on what you think about that here later on in the.
All right.
Moving on, do you think we're gonna have a bad hurricane season?
I do. I think with the weather patterns, seeing the way that they change, because in my position, we're watching weather patterns every day to kind of see what's going to happen. I think this year we're in for another Florence-like year because we've gotten so much rainfall this year. I think the weather patterns seem to indicate that we're probably going to have a bad hurricane season. So be prepared for the issues that come along with hurricanes.
That leads me into the next question. So, like, is there anything you can do to prepare your lawn for game?
That's a weighted issue. Like, if you're anywhere prone to flooding, not a whole lot you can do. But knowing that if your yard floods, the root rot is definitely a big issue. The fact that you're probably going to have to replace sod is a big issue. If you don't have that much flooding, but you have a little bit of flooding, at least fungicide is going to be a big thing after the water resides.
So would you put the fungicide before or after?
After. If you're getting that much rainfall from a hurricane, it's just better to do it after.
So put down the fungicide after the water's is drained away. Let me ask you, you say hurricane, what about armyworms? Do you think the armyworm, it's a two-part question. One, do you think we're going to have, last year we had a crazy armyworm outbreak. Do you think we would see that again? And do hurricanes affect the armyworm outbreak?
Hurricanes do affect it a little bit, but unfortunately from what I'm seeing, I think we're probably going to have a worse season this year with armyworms than we did last year. So everybody's going to need to be really focused in on using acelepryn, Durentis, other treatments for armyworms this year, because I think it's going to be really bad with the amount of rainfall we've had, the healthy grasses we have, as opposed to some of the problems that we're having and seeing. I think that armyworms are going to be out in full force this year.
So when should you be thinking about armyworm? Definitely prevention versus treatment. You don't want to wait till you get armyworms and then try to knock them out.
We're not too far off of it right now. I mean, it's definitely something that you need to be starting to think about now over the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. I'd be willing to bet that as we're moving into July, I'd bet within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to start having people pop off with armyworms.
All right, I got them the middle or end of July. I put down some sod on the right side of the house, and I got them a week after putting that thing down, and so.
Well, and they could have somehow come in on the sod as well.
Really, I had some clients last year who thought that, but definitely going to get. I think our round 6 has Durentis in it or whatever you're going to have on hand, and so hopefully that should cover all of our clients. But
I mean,
so we'll be putting that down probably the 3rd week of July it's
a perfect time period for that.
August.
Definitely going to get your control out for sure.
We talked about sedges. What are some other most troubling weeds you're hearing about in lawns besides sedges? Is there anything else that?
Doveweed and goosegrass seem to be prone to problems every year here lately. This year's no different. Goosegrass and doveweed are out everywhere. There are products that we have seen that are controlling it a little bit better, but you got to be careful with the herbicides that we're seeing that work. Sure Pick seems to be one that does a very good job at controlling dove and goose, but at the same time, there's potential for burning because of the sulfentrazone in there.
Yeah. I forgot maybe Blindside and Celsius mix.
Whew, that's a hot mix.
For doveweed.
Oh man, that's a hot mix. I would avoid Blindside,
period,
if you could, unless you have techs that know exactly what they're doing. Otherwise, you could burn some stuff up very quickly in this heat.
Yeah. Good to know. Did we talk about turf pests? Any pests? I know we haven't had rain it rained yesterday, but before that, I think it was like 7 days maybe, and I was reading literature on chinch bugs that 5 to 6 days of no rain, chinch bugs can come in.
Yeah.
In St. Augustine. Are there any other pests that you're seeing?
Obviously, chinch bugs that they'll continue to pop up here and there. I'm not seeing mole crickets as bad this year as we have in years past. That remains to be seen, obviously. But I will say grubs and earthworms seem to be a bigger issue this year than in years past. So obviously, if you're a homeowner and you have that problem, please use a loft granular. It works amazing at that. Professionals also use a loft as well, but there are a few other options open to us as well.
How would you tackle mole crickets?
Depending on if I'm going out as a professional across acreage or spot treating here and there. Spot treating here and there, I would obviously use a loft granular. There's just really nothing better for ease of use and controlling. If I'm going out across acres, I would probably spring for liquid aloft. It's pricier, but it does an effective job. I would also accompany that with a few other insecticides just to make sure you're getting everything at the same time.
The armyworm, Durentis, like all those armyworm preventions, they tackle grubs too, don't they?
Somewhat, they do. I mean, they are on labels. I don't know how effective they are versus a lot. Well, I do know that they're less effective than a loft is. But when you're going out treating armyworms, whatever, you're not usually looking at your grub and earthworm control at the same time.
So like broad spectrum insecticide for a homeowner, a loft's probably going to be the
loft for a go-to for earthworms and grubs, because if you have like a really bad problem, do it every 3 months until you see less problem, because you got to start cutting down that population. One time's not going to do it if you have a really bad mole or grub or earthworm problem.
Earthworm. I would say any insect for that matter. Probably one time's not going to.
One time's not going to be enough. Obviously, insecticides like Triple Crown or something, you can go out and spray it, and you're going to get 3 months of control or more out of it. But you gotta kind of weigh your options on that as well.
All right, going to the big question we get a lot, or not a question we get a lot, but how often would you water the lawn right now in the middle of the summer? Because I see both extremes. You're either watering way too much or you're just not watering at all.
That's true.
there's a lot of new build developments with a lot of centipede in it, and they just don't have irrigation at all, but they want fertilization weed control.
The problem is it's not a simple solution, unfortunately. You
Yeah,
need to pay attention to your weather and your lawn. It's not something you can go click a clock on and forget about it. You need to be paying attention to how much rain have we had this week? Are we expecting more rain? And you need to either have a system that will work with the changing weather patterns, which they do have, they're amazing, or you have to be diligent about going out there and changing your clock depending on the weather patterns.
I switched mine to the HydroWise, and so when we weren't getting rain, it bumped the length of the water, and I was watering 25 minutes, it automatically bumped it up to 32 minutes. And it said because lack of rainfall. And then when
those few minutes probably isn't enough to
yeah,
offset,
I'm using
but
that as an example.
Yeah.
Well, I was watering 5 days a week, 25 minutes. And then when it sees rain coming, it will shut it off and won't water that day. If it knows from whatever they're calling the weather to be, if it sees it's going to rain an inch, it won't even water. Trying to say that a smart irrigation system can help a lot, but I really wanted you to say there is no set it and forget it.
there really isn't.
You got to get a rain gauge.
You do.
𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐿 has them.
We do. Come get one
Yes,
for sure.
Definitely, definitely. I got 2 at the shop, 1 here at the house, and I monitor how much is raining on a weekly basis with that rain gauge. And then you adjust your irrigation to that. I think we're going to be wrapping it up here. Does Triangle Chemical sell to the public?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you know, there are a few products that homeowners can't buy because they don't have pesticide license. But by and large, if a homeowner walks into a Triangle Chemical around the country, they can buy fertilizers, they can buy insecticides, they can buy fungicides. There's just a few things that are roped off from them buying. But we absolutely sell to the public, and my location does fairly well with homeowners.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say that if a homeowner came in and said, hey, I got a centipede lawn or I got a Bermuda lawn, can you tell me what to put down seasonally? And y'all could
I absolutely do. Yep, I love talking to homeowners and explaining to them, and because they just have a lot of questions because they don't know. One, because they might have just moved here from another part of the country, or two, they just never really know much about the grass. But answering questions is super easy. It's second nature to me. Yeah, absolutely. Come in, ask us questions, and we can get you set up on the right train.
All right, fantastic. And so how could a homeowner get in touch with you guys here locally?
Locally, our phone works. So sometimes it goes down because it's Wi-Fi based, but yeah, call us. Come by and see us anytime between 7:30 and 3:30.
7:30 and 3:30.
We're open longer than that, but we're in and out throughout the day or whatever, so asking questions is better in the morning time for sure.
All right, all right. So come see him if you got any questions, if you want to tackle lawn care yourself. I hope you like this video. It's a little different than how I usually do them. If you do like it, let me know in the comment section, and we hope we brought some good information to you.